Hey, this is Ryan Witt, defense attorney here in Western Washington. There are very few pleasant surprises in the criminal defense world, but there's at least one. And that is when people call right after a DUI arrest, they believe they are automatically suspended right out of the gate. That's not the case. There are some things that can come up in the immediate future that can lead to a suspension, but just the act of the arrest doesn't mean you're suspended. So if you are in that situation, stick around. Okay, so I'm speaking with my experience as a licensed attorney in Washington State, but many, if not most people, right after a DUI arrest think they are suspended. They think they walk out of the courtroom or they're released from jail and they're like, oh my gosh, my car's here, I'm suspended, what am I going to do? Well, that's not the case. The court can impose conditions of release, we'll talk about that later, but you're not actually suspended. So the arrest doesn't initially trigger a suspension. It can down the road from other kind of events that'll flow from it, but there's actually two things, and only two things, that can suspend your license in this DUI realm here. Number one is if you plead guilty or you are found guilty. So the operative word is guilty. It could be bench trial, jury trial, some trier of fact has found you guilty, or it could be as simple as there was a plea in front of you and you resolved it with a decision to just plead guilty. So that plea of guilty will result in the court sending paperwork to the Department of Licensing. That will trigger a suspension. But again, that is not happening simultaneously with your arrest. That's 2 months, 3 months, a year after. So that's way in the future. Okay, so that's the first thing, is a guilty. Number two, and the only other way you can become suspended from the DUI arrest is if you don't request or you don't prevail at the Department of Licensing hearing. Now you have to make that request within 7 days of the date of the arrest, and they'll set you a hearing date about 30 days after the date of the arrest. We get on board, we'll oftentimes continue that hearing maybe another 30 days, so now you're 30 plus 30, 60 days. A lot of times a hearings examiner will take about 2 weeks to decide, 75 days. Then they're going to send you something in the mail as to when it's going to start. You could be 90 days after the date of your arrest before you actually become suspended. So to recap, it's a plea of guilty or a finding of guilty, or you don't request or you don't prevail at the Department of Licensing hearing. And that's it. So it's nothing like, you're arrested and oh my gosh, I'm suspended right away. That gives people a lot of stress, and it's a very frequently asked question that we get. So happy to put that info out there. This is just for Washington State, and you should always drill down on whatever attorney you choose to go with, but you're typically not suspended. Now, what people can misconstrue as a suspension is the court can set conditions of release. Now, that may feel like a suspension, but it's not technically a suspension. That is a less restrictive alternative than the judge saying, okay, Mr. Smith, you're going to stay in jail on $10,000 or $100,000 bail. So a condition of release can be the judge saying, okay, you're out or you're out on bail, but you have to have an ignition interlock in your car. It feels like a restriction, which it is, but it's not technically a suspension. So I know there's a lot of nuance there. Certain things can feel like, the condition of release can feel like a suspension. It's actually not. It's a difficult and convoluted topic, so do call a local defense attorney, somebody in your area that's got experience in dealing with this topic. If this was helpful to you, we do like putting these videos out. If you have a question based on it, drop it in the comments, and I'll do our best to answer it there. Or if it's a frequently asked question, I'll just do a new video answering that question for you. And also, we really appreciate hitting like and subscribe. It helps us get more info out. And thank you for watching.